offensively. They're a very physical team. It was kind of the same way it was in Detroit. Baskets are hard to come by with all the contact. We didn't shoot it great, but I thought after the game started 9-0, I really thought defensively we hung in there. I think there was a long stretch there. I think at the middle, actually it's probably a good portion of the second quarter, I think we held them to about 7 points. And then when you have a night like we did shooting the basketball, you want to be able to give yourself an opportunity to win. And I thought without question, the defense did that. I thought we were fortunate a little bit in the first half, to be honest. They turned it over 13 times and we got to the free throw line, I think 16 times to their 7. That was really the difference. And they didn't shoot the ball particularly well from 3. And then, I thought with the 3-point line, defending that was important. Not fouling was important, but the only part to me was a little disappointing is the same thing that happened against New Orleans. We get up and just got to close games better, whenever it was there. Same thing happened last night. The fourth, we just got, we lost a little focus, concentration, and we obviously allowed them to get back in the game, but we closed it out a little bit better.
Oh, yeah, I know we've been talking a lot about defense, but the Detroit really puts a lot of pressure on you. We're going right at the rim, scoring a lot in the paint, and endure that and still, win a game by double figures and hold it to 82 points. It's got to be pretty encouraging.
Yeah, I mean, I thought, to your point, I think 43 points in the first half, 35 were at the rim. I thought Jeremy Grant and a lot of their guards were just forcing their way in there. I thought Vooch did a really, really good job adjusting in the second half of being up a little bit higher and making it a little bit more difficult. We had a lot more resistance. We were able to kind of get over some screens and get back on the ball. But yeah, I mean, I was really impressed with our defense and what we were able to do. They didn't have a great shooting night. Lyles made some shots, but for the most part, they just didn't shoot the ball particularly well. And our defense was good too. There was probably a combination of both. The turnovers, or no, we did a great job. I mean, that was the other thing too, that they had 13 turnovers in the first half. We had 1. I just think we've got to play faster to get our passing involved. We got a little careless on some plays there in the fourth, but yeah, when we take care of the basketball and share it, I think that's when these guys are at their best, because it's a high IQ team and they're really, really smart players and they've got a really good feel for the game. But that's got to be a recipe for us. Like last year, I mentioned this, the turnovers coupled with how much we fouled. Like when you do those two things, it's so hard to overcome, night in and night out. And I think with this group, if we can really be good on the assisted turnover ratio and win the assisted turnover ratio battle, that will be important. And, we did a better job tonight, getting to the free throw line, maybe more so than we did against New Orleans. Well, I just actually, I think with the way the game was going, they put Olynyk in there. And, Olynyk was blitzing DeMar and trapping him, and they were trying to get the ball to DeMar's hands. And I just said, let's just put him at the 5 and see what it looks like. I think we got a little bit of a look at that, and I didn't keep him there too long with the New Orleans preseason game. But you know what? Like, I kind of liked some of the things he did. He was in the pocket. He was in the middle of the floor. He was a little bit more involved offensively. And, he got rushed and hurried a little bit, but, it wasn't bad. And I think he has not had any reps at that at all. I give him a lot of credit for being dumped into that position and never practicing that position. And, I tried to tell him, hey, listen, this is what we're going to run. This is what we're going to do. This is how you need to play. Here are some of the things that you need to be ready for. And he did a great job handling it.
Can that get him going on? They seem to struggle playing with that second unit.
Yeah, I mean, that was part of it too, was, playing him. And I don't want to take away anything from Alizé, because he's been really, really good for us. But I think even throwing Patrick in there at the 5 sometimes gives us a different dimension with his skill level and the way he puts it down. But yeah, I mean, one of the things I thought about, I think someone mentioned to me before the game started, are your rotations set? And I said, no, you have to look at different ways to, how we can best utilize all these guys. And all of them are going to be important. But I really just felt maybe Patrick playing in the second unit, to your point, may help him get going and help him be a little bit more aggressive. We can maybe do some things with him where he can be more in an attacking situation. But in fairness to Patrick, listen, he's had a great summer. We talked about it. you can't be 1 week off of a month injury basically and expect him to be where he was at before the injury took place. And on top of that, he's playing with an entirely different team. And you know what? I'm not making an excuse for him. It's just hard. He had no training camp last year and he had no training camp this year. And it's not his fault. It happened, but it's going to take him some time. And I give him credit. He's a total team guy. He's a great guy to work with. He'll do whatever he can do to help the team. And, you know, he didn't bat an eye. I told him, I said, listen, I'm going to put you in at the 5. It wasn't like, wow. He was just like, sure. Okay. You know, he's go with the flow. He's great to work with, but I do think we need to at least take a step back to realize what he's been through up to this point in time. And you know what? Let's see how he can progress. I thought today he was more aggressive and was more involved. And I think I made the comment after the New Orleans game or after the Detroit game, I got to try to find a way to help him get more involved. And I thought today he was a little bit more involved.
It's 3 games, and that's going to get a long way to go. So, just starting off this well, kind of where we've seen. What do you think that can sort of?
I mean, I give these guys all the credit, Jamal. I mean, I think the relationship piece, the best teams that I have ever been around are really, really connected. You know, I just think it's really hard to be good if you're not a connected group and there's not an accountability. You feel a personal accountability to the guy standing next to you. This has been a good group because of the personalities and the character of these guys. So I think that's been a good thing. You know, we'll, I'm sure, have our ups and downs during the course of the season. There'll be adversity like there is every year. But if these guys maintain the mentality and attitude of solving issues and getting better and trying to improve, you know, then you can overcome things. But I think a lot of it, to your point, the first 3 games is all those guys. I mean, it's their relationship, how much they've invested into each other and how much they've invested in the court, in training camp and during games. I'm sorry? I think, you know what, it's like, if you were around these guys, you would love being with them. They're easy to talk to. They're honest. They're straightforward. They're really good guys. They're unselfish. They're high character. I mean, Zach's an incredible guy. This is my first time ever working with DeMar. I mean, just a complete pro and a class act. Vooch, the same thing. Patrick Williams, just mentioned, is a great guy. Javante's great guy. Caruso, I've known. I coached against him, had him in Oklahoma City. I mean, we got great people in terms of the substance and the character. But the thing that's important, I think, Jamal, is they know they cannot be any good without chemistry. So they've worked at, you know, Vooch and Zach, Vooch and DeMar, Vooch and talking. You know, Lonzo's a great guy, And, you know, he's an unselfish player that you like playing with. I think I made the comment when he first got in the league. Someone asked me if I thought, you know, how I thought he'd fit in. I said, listen, he's the kind of guy that you'll want to play with. People will love playing with him because he's so unselfish. So all the way around, top to bottom, we got really, really good people. And they also know that they've got to work to create that chemistry because it's really when the adversity comes that you really find out how connected you are. It's easy to be connected when you're 3-0. We'll see how connected we are when it gets difficult. But I do feel confident about this group's character.
Sounds like this starts with media, but
yeah, is that right?
It seemed like you're out rebounded quite a bit.
I didn't see the numbers. What were the numbers? Okay. What's the rebounding differential? You know, anybody know?
39-42, down by 3.
I wouldn't say we're dominated, but that's okay.
It's 53, but yeah, double figures and steals and blocks. I think you talked about being small. Is that the formula that can overcome that? And that's you know what you're going to carry forward with that. If you do that, the rebounding thing is not going to make that much difference.
Yeah, I think there was always a formula. I think one of the things that happened. Everybody talked about non-paint twos. You can't take non-paint twos. Well, you can overcome non-paint twos. Offensive rebounds and get to the free throw line. And sometimes when you take a lot of non-paint twos, you're playing closer to the rim. So if you offensive rebound and you get fouled, doesn't make a difference how many non-paint twos you take. I think for us, with our rebounding, if we can be really active in terms of not that we're going to force turnovers all the time, but really, really active, helping and be disruptive, I think that's part of the formula. I think the other part of the formula for us is how well can we defend a 3-point line? You know, that we've got to be able to do a really good job there. We've got to defend the 3 well. And I would not classify Detroit as like a great 3-point shooting team. There was some opportunities. They had some pretty good looks that didn't go in, but I think how well we can guard the three is going to be important for us. But there's got to be a formula, to your point, of, if we're not going to be an overly dominating rebounding team, we're going to have to do it by committee. But there's things that we can't do. It's like long rebounds. We got to find our way for our guards to come up with those. We can't foul at an exorbitant rate to allow teams to get to the free throw line. There'll be things that we'll have to do to overcome that.
Leading up to the season, they said, well, the Bulls will score, but we have offense, but they can't defend. When you heard those kind of things, like shooting hit at some point, what was your reaction?
The offense is always more difficult. I think sometimes people think you throw these scorers in there and they're just going to score. It never works that way. There is, when you have players like DeMar and Zach and Vooch who have played a certain way their entire career, and now you're coming into a situation with other elite scorers, that's always the thing that takes the longest, in my opinion. If the group is committed to work defensively, to get over screens, to win the point of screens, to help each other, to rotate, to scramble, the defense, to me, always comes a lot easier. I feel confident with how smart these guys are. We'll continue to get better. But I've been around some, really, really great offensive players. I had Carmelo and Paul George and Russell. It takes time. I mean, to get guys to gel and mesh when they've been the featured guy for so long. So I always feel walking into these situations in training camp, the offense is always a lot more difficult. When I say difficult, not that those guys can't score, but how do you get them to all work and flow together where they can all be who they are? And it's not a situation where, they're deferring. And I think we'll get better at that. I think we'll get better and we'll improve because of these guys. But I think they've all gotten to their spots. They've all had their opportunities and they've all been in position, I think, to have big scoring nights. So I feel comfortable with how we're trying to play. But there's always a level of adjustment in a period that they've got to get to know each other a little bit better.
How do you go about eliciting that buy-in defensively? Because you've always coached good in the defenses. Like, what's your process when you go into a camp or go into setting up a team to get that buy-in?
Yeah, I mean, well, I just think that there's things you've got to come to an agree. Like you can't really consider yourself a really good team if you don't defend. Clearly, if you go back and look statistically at teams that have gone from the first round to the second round to like conference finals, to every single one of those teams is in the top 10 defensively. They just are. And I think that Vooch, Zach, DeMar, Lonzo, Alex, guys that have been around, they know we have to guard. I mean, they know that. Like, if we don't do that, it's going to be really challenging. The offense will come. I agree with them. It will come, but it will take some time for them to learn how to play with each other. But you cannot really think you're going to win and say, okay, we didn't shoot the ball great tonight. We struggled. It was a grind. It was a struggle for us to make shots. It was a struggle. They were physical. They did a good job. Detroit, they played well defensively in the first half, and you made it hard on us. But if you're not going to defend well, I mean, it's too hard. You got to be great on both ends. Like I'm not a real big believer that defense wins championships. I don't know any team that's won a championship that hadn't been able to play offense. You've got to be able to play both ends of the floor. Now I'm all in. Like with our team, you would think DeRozan score, Vucevic. We cannot be as good as we can be if we think we're going to outscore people. It doesn't work. And if we just think we're going to be all defense and score 95 to 100 points, we're going to be good. And you know what? This has now been, I don't know how many points we have tonight. Okay, it's 2 out of 3 games haven't scored past 100. And I would have expected this coming into this year, and people wouldn't have. I expect this offensively, because we got to find a rhythm, and some of it's a little bit different. But because of these guys' ability and their intelligence, these experience will help them get better. Okay, thank you guys. Appreciate it.